Hello and welcome to Broadcast.gg Scrim Nights. I'm your host, Pimp in the Crib, and joining me today is Rapture and Sharper. How you doing, Rapture?
I'm doing pretty good, Pimp. Nice to be back for some more casting.
Awesome. And Sharper, how about you? I haven't casted with you before, so I'm excited to see how you do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm from Europe, so I guess that's not normal that I'm casting here, but I'm pretty hyped for this game, and it seems to be a stacked game, so looking
Yeah,
forward to it.
yeah. And on the blue side, well, actually they swapped it in game, but let's just go over here. We got Malicious 6. They're a team in open division right now. They got a record of 4-0, so they're doing pretty good. Week 5 is going to be starting up on Saturday, and they got an average SR of around 4,400. But Rapture, tell me a little bit about what we're going to expect from this team.
Yeah, like you said, a team that others are definitely looking out for. Already a great start in open division, only dropping one map in these past 4 weeks. Team that kind of favors dive, which is pretty standard for almost every single team you're going to see here in these road to open division scrim nights. But they've only been together for about 2 weeks, so it's interesting. We see kind of a different dynamic between teams that have been around between a month, a couple weeks, and some of these have been around for a few months. But this team only a few weeks. Chemicals, Farrer, Hepidix, Keith, Scorched Sanity, and Manimal. Interesting of note, this is the first time I've seen this. This is a team that actually prefers a 2CP map as their favorite map or game mode. They like Anubis. They like going there. They don't like Volskaya, but usually teams just always avoid 2CP, at least when they fill these things out. And this is the first time I've seen one of these teams not have a problem with 2CP whatsoever. So Malicious 6, I'm excited to see what they can bring to the table after all they've posted up so far.
Yeah, they got a great roster. For being only together for 2 weeks. Usually teams don't do that well. Some of the teams they beat actually faced one of the better teams in open division. Sleeper Picks has a few well-known players on there, and yeah, they only lost one map. But let's bring it over to Barbaric Dusk. Now they're not in open division. They had a little bit of registration issues, but I think this is one of many teams for Barbaric Esports, as I know Barbaric Black is in open division, but Barbaric Dusk, they aren't around. They're not in open division, but they've been around for about a month, practicing and stuff. So, Sharper, can you tell me a little bit about what we're going to expect out of this team, Barbaric Dusk?
Yeah, just like Rapture said, most of the teams, the better they get, are starting to dive more and more, as it is the fast playstyle in Overwatch you can get. So naturally, Barbaric Dusk also prefers the dive composition. As their favorite map, they're not having a 2CP map though, like barely any team except today, Malicious 6. They're favoring the good old King of the Hill, and with that being said, Lijiang Tower. There's not really a least favorite play mode for them. Maybe that's not just yet, but we'll see about it. And their team is consisting of the 6 players: JCB, Hamirai, also known as Ham, Augustus, Garms, Ram, and Trafficone. And one interesting thing I see there is that Ram prefers play Ana, but I'm wondering if he sticks to Ana or will bring out the Mercy tonight.
Yeah, and Sharper, you did mention earlier the Ana pick. Also, Malicious 6 does seem to favor an Ana pick as well. So, interestingly enough, both of these teams kind of going for something a little less standard. At least have they filled this out. I'm sure we'll see something different on the field today. But throughout these scrim nights, I'm noticing teams not necessarily going just for the standard Mercy Zenyatta, but mixing up with Mercy Lucio, Lucio Ana, sometimes throwing in a Moira depending on the map. They're being flexible in terms of their back line.
Yeah, and I think just as you said it really depends on the map. And here on Night Marker, there's pretty much 2 strategies you can do to start things off. You can either fight on the market to next to the line statues, or you can rush to the point where you're going to play a rather more compact comp where, for example, Mark come in. But with that Pharaoh Mercy, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a Night Market fight here.
And Malicious 6 pushing up hard and getting the first blood onto Garms, getting a little bit of an advantage moving into this rest of this fight here as they get rid of Othello's tank. And that's a big body once they can go in and clean up the rest of this team once that D.Va is down. And as you can see right there, Malicious 6 has no trouble doing so. And they're going to pick up a very easy first capture here on Lijiang.
And now it's important to see how the team of Barbaric Dusk is going to adapt to what they just seen so far, because that Pharah could really rain justice from above here on the open space. So I would love to see Barbaric Dusk to rotate onto the point and make the Pharah struggle a bit.
Yeah, unfortunately for Barbaric, I mean, they have the Tracer, they have a Zenyatta, but the Genji can't contest Pharah super hard. You can see right there, Chemicals is essentially getting a free kill on Rem. He does get immediately cut down by Othello, or by Otho, but the Mercy pick is absolutely huge to keep the rest of this fight going for the red side here. As most of the 6 are just cleaning up, especially after a couple of reses, Valkyrie coming up from Valk. Now to try and salvage things, here comes the Blade from Hammerine, but too little too late there. Gets put down for the count before that Blade really gets anywhere. We've already hit this 40% mark here for Militia 6.
Yeah, and that Mercy pick there in the start was crucial. As you could see, the fight was pretty much over once Scorsanity used the Valkyrie and ensured the win for Militia 6. And now it's going to be interesting because this time around Ram has the Valkyrie up, so there's a Valkyrie advantage for Barbaric Dusk. In theory, they should win that upcoming fight.
Oh, Chemicals trying to get things early, going for a 76 pick, and Hepidux helps clean it up. It gets the missile kill on the JCB. A nice even trade though. Trafficon gets rid of Pharah, a huge MVP pick here so far though. The game really hasn't started. He's definitely a strong hit scan player. And things are now going on the blue side as Rem trying to get out of harm's way and then keeping Hamurai alive as they're being chased down hard. Hepidix though finds himself in the corner, getting melted and put out of mech. This could be a swing now for Barbaric Dusk, as they now get closer and closer to a first capture, and just without very little time remaining too, it's already approaching the 90% mark here. Killfeed still staying on their side as Chemicals straggling outside the point does get put down by Otho finally. And there should be another stagger too, both losing the Pharah and another tank in Kelf is Winston, and they're going to lose this Diva too, just continuing to stagger, trying to eat away as little time or as more time as possible. They do get the 99%, and now Barbaric Dusk, it's their turn.
And even though they got it to 99%, the most important thing to note here is that Ram didn't use the Valkyrie at all. So there's 5 ultimates coming up, including the Valkyrie for Ram, and they should be able to hold on to this point for long if they manage to have a good ultimate order. But let's see what they will do with the ultimates here.
Cal jumping right in, and the Discord Orb is immediately on him. The Primal Rage has to get popped. Chemicals with another barrage. It gets sucked up, but he does get 2 kills off it, and then Scorch with the Resurrect. A big numbers advantage here for Malicious 6 as they migrate back over towards the point, and they might actually be able to cap before the fight ends, but unfortunately for them, Garms gets onto the point. Should get melted though. He's still hanging around outside of it. Otho does take his place, and then he finally rejoins the fray, but the Valkyrie's already in motion there on the side of Scorched Sanity. At this point, it's pretty much a slim pickings for anyone to get any kills on the side of Barbaric Dusk, and indeed they lose everything. Hamrai's still alive though, does get 1 kill onto Kelp, but he can't stay alive for much longer than that, and neither can Rem. Malicious 6 should be walking away with the first win here in 99, and then eventually 100% 44.
And a crucial pick there from Manimal on that Lucio. He managed to somehow get Rem out of the air and kill the Mercy completely. So there was no Valkyrie anymore for Barbaric Dusk, and gave Malicious 6 just the speed they needed and the momentum to ride with. And thus they can start the score off and lead Legion Tower 1-0 as we head over to Control Center.
Yeah, Malicious 6 certainly living up to their name. It's quite a task for Barbaric Dusk to take here when they have to focus on Chemicals so much, making sure that those barrages aren't picking up multiple kills. But you have to be careful of Pharah too. Pharah's a player that I've seen in a lot of Cow League and soft lock events like the Opens and the Minutemen and stuff, and he's been a player that's been around a bunch of teams in the past year, and he's been always very strong on hit scan, playing 76, McCree, and Tracer very well. We're going to see a little bit of that McCree coming out here on the control center, where he can peek around this cover and his Rhine shield as well. Garms though, the sniper first here on Lijiang phase 2, as he gets a great fire strike kill on the Chemicals to get things going and force the Brez out of Scorch, and then a hook from Heppo helping Garms get put down by Chemicals. Now Malicious 6 holding on strong to this point, even though Hamurai getting rid of Pharah. That's a nice pick off, but they don't have any position. Otho's going to try and change that, pushing right up onto it, but they don't actually put any feet on the point, and they allow it to swing over to Malicious 6 as they easily pick up a couple of kills outside the perimeter, and now they're forcing the rest of Barbaric Dusk back to spawn.
Yeah, the biggest difference there was that one team had a Lucio, in that case it was Malicious 6, and Barbaric Dusk didn't have a Lucio, so you saw Malicious 6 came up to the little cell room there first and just had positional advantage straight up, and there was no way for Barbaric Dusk to handle it in a fast fashion, and thus they just lost the point with it.
Yeah, the death ball of Militia 6 benefiting greatly by this Lucio pick. And now they're trying to get some more here, really pushing their luck in front of this spawn, and they eat because of it. Our Garms gets put down by a Fire Strike, forcing a Reds out of Scorch, and even the Valkyrie too. A Riptire though, gonna set things straight and get, oh actually Chemicals picks up Hammerized Riptire trading there, and then a fat Shatter from Garms. A nice Colossal Earthquake, putting down Rem after a big pin, and now things are just scattered outside this point, but still somewhat of a numbers advantage here for Malicious 6 with the help of Heppo and then Farrer putting down Zenyatta and 76 respectively. Garms trying to stay alive, but he can't retreat that quickly. He is going to be flashbanged down by Farrer, and things reset again for Malicious 6 as they hold on to a gigantic lead.
Man, and Malicious 6 plays this really well as a death spell, as you mentioned. They stick together so well, and the decisions they're making are so fast. You saw Calf he overstayed his welcome and died, but there was no split second to wait for Scorsanity. Just pop that Valkyrie, rest him, and re-engage. But now, it's Barbaric Dust coming up with the Gravel Search, and it's a huge one.
Nice, yeah, they got everybody there. Garms going in, swinging hard, and Earth Shatter to boot. And they throw the kitchen sink and then some, and that should be absolutely enough for Barbaric Dust to get essentially an entire team kill there. And just in time too, 92% for Malicious 6. They still have a big hill to climb.
Yeah, and Fire and this team were somewhat prepared for this because Fire was on the high ground, as we heard a Valkyrie being used. Not sure if I agree with that. And he tried to High Noon prop there, but it was to no great effect. His whole team was getting evaporated. And now Barbaric Dust just smartly. Not Barbaric Dust, excuse me. Malicious 6 smartly waiting out for the Valkyrie to end, and now they approach the point. No Valkyrie on anymore.
That's a big liability, burning that Valkyrie so early. You're not going to have the double res, and not going to have that just additional evasiveness on Mercy. But still, Barbaric Dust just making the most of it right here until Chemicals gets on the board. The big Riptire onto Garms. Now a Graviton again, locking Malicious 6 in place. A repeat of what we just saw earlier. And JCB helped cleaning things up. Another really great Graviton from Otho, keeping Barbaric Dust in control of the point.
Maybe a bit an overuse tech-wise there for JCB, but better be safe than sorry, especially when the enemy team has 92%. And man, we gotta give some shoutouts to Otto. The guy already had a Graviton surge up again after just one fight, so that's big to come. But now, Malicious 6 are approaching the point with a B-drop plus that Earth Shatter, and Calf has shown before that he can do a big Earth Shatter, and here's again! Big Earth Shatter, 4-man down.
Garms got knocked into the air and the Earth Shatter slipped under his shield. A huge play by Malicious 6, but they're going right into this high charge of Otho, is cleaning things up in the backline, gets a double kill, and Kelt trying to clean up on him, but Traffic Cone puts him down. And Malicious 6 looked like they had the upper hand, but going right in, salvaging things. Otho and the rest of this backline on the side of Barbaric Dust, holding on strong after a somewhat shaky ultimate discipline before this fight broke out. And now Malicious 6 having a very small window to try and re-engage and get control of this point again. They're going to go in with the help of this High Noon, but people behind the shield, and JCB right-clicks him, and now they're going to try and go in despite that. Again, Otho waiting for this backline to be charged. He finds the Mercy, going to try and clean things up in the backline, but Hammerai picking up the slack, gets two with the Riptire. Otho still chasing outside, forcing Mercy away from the rest of the team. Does get the res though. Scorch eventually goes down with Otho finally getting his number. And just in time, it should be Malicious 6 unable to do so, as Farrer trying to get on and stagger for a little while longer does get melted again by Otho, making it look easy, and Barbaric Dust now bringing this to a round 3 on Lijiang.
Yeah, and what a beautiful setup though by Malicious 6. I think it was Manimal who booped the enemy Reinhardt up, so Kalov could just come from the side, lay that hammer down, and I believe he got 4 targets, but the Transcendence got through, and so no kills went up, and then Barbaric Dust could return the fight and take control over it, and thus we have a 1-1 score here, but we're back to a map where we could see a fire again, and that was exactly what Barbaric Dust was struggling with.
Yeah, Barbaric Dust able to stabilize after a somewhat unstable first round on Lijiang, and now they kind of found their groove with tighter corridors in the control center, but now we're moving back outside to the Lijiang Gardens. Let's see how that changes up. Both teams again going back to dive. That might be a little bit of an advantage here on the side of Malicious 6, who have no problem just gutting the entirety of Barbaric Dusk as this fight breaks out in front of the point. JCB's the only one who can pick up a kill. It does get 2 though. High quality targets for his trouble. And now he's trying to find the Lucio in the backline, trying to get rid of some of these supports to get this fight ended as soon as possible, but having a little trouble as Farah getting on the board, and a Garms, a pulse bomb going down. Hopefully that's going to get anyone significant there. Farah still holding on to theirs. Garms gets a nice kill on the Scorch though. Rem's still alive on the side of Barbaric Dusk. D.Va, Heppo on the other side of this pillar, has to try and get out, but can't survive with the mech. Is going to pop out and now try and get things going to Artho, but Garms still posting numbers on the board. And this kill feed is looking all premium. Or Simeon, I guess. That's probably a better word for it. But looking really good out here is Garms. And Barbaric Dusk holding on for dear life to this point as Malicious 6 trickling in and now almost getting a little bit of an upper hand. But again, responding is Barbaric Dusk. They should be able to finally complete it. Indeed, they do. Until this Farah has something to say about it, possibly here. Chemicals getting onto the point, trying to keep things going. Rez coming out from traffic going, and Chemicals just puts himself out, deciding not to give the kill to Barbaric Dusk, but still giving him a lot of trouble as they just try and get the first clinch here on this point. Still having a little bit of a hiccup in doing so, and Barbaric Dusk will finally get things here after Malicious 6 goes down.
Hey, yeah, finally, you say it. After what felt like an eternity of a fight, they capture the point, and there are so many ultimates up already resulting from that long fight. But I think the whole story of the opening fight was both traces popping up. We saw Fair and JCB in the kill feed, but now we see Malicious 6 approaching the point again.
Oh, a pulse bomb almost taking Garms out for the count. Not a pulse bomb, but a similar shot. There's the pulse bomb right there, and that's actually not going to take him out there. A little preemptive, but nonetheless, can't get the job done. And still Barbaric Dusk holding strong in this fight, forcing Scorch to burn that res. Both of them. Also trying to get rid of Chemicals and pushing them off the point here. Has to be careful outside this wall. Heppo trying to get in and sneak by the other D.Va, but they still can't get any footing on the point. Malicious 6 having trouble outside the point, and just with a fewer numbers though, getting onto the point regardless and picking off a couple here outside of these quarters. Garms though just creating a huge nuisance here on the side of Malicious 6, but won't go down, but the rest of his team will, unfortunately. JCB though sneaking right in, but Hepodix immediately sniffs him out, misses him down. A pulse bomb will get rid of his mech, but that's a good trade for them. And Chemicals though trying to make things happen on this point, and unfortunately unfortunately for Barbaric Dusk, it's anything they can possibly take here to hold on, and unfortunately Chemicals routing them. And now he's switching over to this McCree as they need a little more hit scan help against this Farah. I mean, maybe they want it for the Farah, I don't know.
Yeah, he performed so well on the Farah, and now re-engagement coming in here from Barbaric Dusk. They pushed him all the way back onto their bridge, and now just slowly capping the point with one person on it. Beat drop coming out though from the side of Malicious 6. They try to counter engage. Apple uses the bomb onto the point, doesn't get a kill with it, but the remake is there. Rocket barrage now around Hamurai, and I think this seals the deal.
Ooh,
Point gets flipped back.
Yeah, that re-engagement by Malicious 6 seems pretty well, founded, and then they even got the right-click boop on the Garms as he was on cooldown. But then Hamurai just slipping right in, gets a bunch of kills with the barrage, having no trouble at all, swinging in back over for a counter engagement. Now a fight breaking out again outside of the point here as Malicious 6 trying to get on before we hit 99% of the side of Barbaric Dusk. Going right in, Heppo pocketed with the tracer on his side. They actually get it right on. No one on the side of Barbaric Dusk standing on the point. They just let it trickle over. And now a bomb to try and salvage things and get them back in, getting a little bit of revenge. But it's all Malicious 6. JCB has something to say about that, gets a pulse bomb down. But unfortunately, it's only on Chemicals who's immediately res, and then Farah showing who has the better stuff here on Tracer just for a moment. But it definitely is going to count. Also going to reset here. And now Barbaric Dusk slipping and losing control of the point, and now their lead as Malicious 6 gaining ground.
It seemed like a miscommunication as we see Farrier taking Hamurai out. It looked like Garms and Otto weren't sure who of the two tanks would touch the point, and it resulted in them losing the point at all. But look at Farrier here. He's going really deep, gets the backup of his team, they lead him back out with speed boost. 80% coming up for both teams, and Barbaric Dusk, they need to win this fight here, else this round's over as the D.Va bomb is coming out. Let's see if we can get a calm thing. Nope.
No, lands on the other side of the bridge, so no one was even there in its line of sight. Meanwhile, in the background, JCB entered the point very, very early and got into the background. He already set up camp before the store was open, and Farah getting knocked down at the doors. Hepodix, though, getting a little bit of revenge, but Hamurai again with the brush. JCB, though, a big triple kill with the pulse bomb, and these huge ultimates are just keeping Barbaric Dusk in these fights again and again and again. When it seems like Militia 6 having a little bit of an advantage positionally, it is Barbaric Dusk with repeated ultimates that are hitting for big numbers. And what a big triple bomb here on the side of JCB. Set up shop, comes in, puts it in the mailbox, and that thing goes absolutely boom. And now it's up to Militia 6. Yeah, he's been absolutely going off this entire fight. Both Fair and JCB have been fighting, duking it out on this tracer point here. Militia 6, though, having to deal with the barrier being thrown down by Traffic Cone as they usher their way up onto the point, but a Valkyrie coming out from Scorch to keep his team alive, getting the Lucio and the Winston back into the fight. That's going to be big, creating space and knocking these guys off the point, and also Manum will be able to start building maybe to a possible next barrier if he keeps this fight going long enough. But Chemicals knocking out JCB, and this D.Va unable to get away from the Pulse Bomb as Alto's going to get D-Magged. And then a D.Va Mac from above trying to clinch things out. Not going to connect, but a good zoning here, allowing Kilt to push everyone off the point as he has the Primal Rage, and Alto was out, and he doesn't come to that. A barrage outside. Is it going to be able to repeat? Hamurai, though, actually gets stuffed by the bubble, and SDs, a barrage to the face from their own self. And this actually should go the way of Militia 6. They are holding on long enough. The ultimates are not there for Barbaric Dusk. Only so many times you can rip out the 3 or 4 man barrages before eventually you miss, and eventually you whiff. You gotta take 100% of the shots. And unfortunately, Scorch going down, though, that could be a big key if Barbaric is able to swing this back in their favor. But Doomfist can have something to say about that. It's not Chemicals duffing everyone left and right. When this Winston and Mercy pop it. Oh, a Primal Rage, though. That's going to keep the stagger going for just a little bit longer for Barbaric Dusk to get their numbers repleted up on JCB, the big chase, and a kill with the double on Chemicals and Kellett. That's a possible swing point right there. Is JCB looking for more, but Farrer, a Pulse Bomb that actually connects on Scorch Sanity as well, but gets 2, and Farrer for 3, Farrer for 4. Woo. Farrer, though, going absolutely crazy at the end there. 1, 2, 3, 4, finding a Pulse Bomb that even connects with the Mercy and a double kill, and then more 1, 2, 3, just like dominoes falling in a line. Even though JCB picking up the play of the game, I think Farrer could have made just as close to the case here.
Yeah, this whole map in the end was just an insane tracer show from JCB and Farrer. It felt like they were having a little competition. One guy was saying like, look at this, I'm gonna make a 2-man Pulse Bomb, and then JCB comes in with that 66% kill participation. He even killed the Mercy with a sticky in the last fight, and it was just insane. And Farrer, in the end, popping off.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see Fair in another game. It's been a little while since I've cast one of his games, and he's always got off on these hit scan characters. His Tracer, we saw in that game how deep he was willing to go into the enemy backline to create a little more, pressure, to eat away more time, to make their front line a little bit weaker, and just even build up a little more ult charge too. So Fair doing a great job. JCB, when things got tough, JCB showed up. Same with Hamurai too. Like I was calling it out earlier, Barbaric Dusk very often being clutch with their ultimates, like routinely throughout their roster, which is a nice note to point out. But unfortunately, the clutch factor wasn't able to stick around for very long, as they did lose out to Farrer, who was just the concentrated clutch entirely on that team, all going spirit bombing on Farrer for a big pulse bomb at the end. So great Lijiang map there, Sharper, I would definitely say. And I'm excited where we go into this next map, Gibraltar, our escort map of the night between these two teams. Thank you all for tuning in here at Broadcast.gg. We do have Militia 6 up 1-0 against Barbaric Dusk.
And I think this map is really going to show us how well these teams play together already, because Watchpoint Gibraltar is pretty much one of the maps where you can snowball the most if you have really good team play and really good players in common. And there's just so much punishment in little mistakes, especially in that hunger phase. If you get staggered there with your spawns, the enemy team, the attacking team especially, can brutally abuse that and pretty much push you all the way back until you spawn and hold you there on the entrances. And here in Switzerland, we have some great Widow players, and I hope that Farrer, who you praise for his hitscan play, is going to pick up Widowmaker, because Widowmaker on Watchpoint Gibraltar with good tank line is just devastating and could end up brutal for Barbaric Dusk if they don't catch some breath and stop giving her space. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's an understatement. I'm excited, especially because both of these teams, I think, showed a pretty solid dive comp across Lijiang, even though, obviously both teams going to more death volley on the control center part of Lijiang, both of them showing out pretty well on dive on the first and third variations of Lijiang. So now moving over to Gibraltar, which definitely favors that dive mentality with the high verticality. And then, yeah, like you said, the long sightlines giving characters like 76 and Widowmaker especially a huge opportunity for a ton of picks. And not only that for the defensive team, but also the offensive one too, is they, like you said, snowballing map. If they could get a really quick couple of kills in the first point, and then get that first checkpoint, establish themselves in the second, high ground area of the second phase, we could already be to the end of the map before you know it. So we'll see as Militia 6 pushing out here with that Genji Widowmaker comp and already threatening on the high ground here, pushing up with this Widowmaker and with the Winston and the D.Va already trying to cause some D-Max. In fact, they do get rid of Alto, but Chemicals getting caught out by Garms, and that may have to force Militia 6 back just a little bit here, but no big deal. The payload is still slowly stuttering under this little bridge here as they move under, and now moving towards the server room. They have Grims in the back line, almost trying to get rid of this Mercy. They have to be careful. Manimal almost going down. He does get slept. Nice. Kelt goes down on it for distracting the rest of the team, but otherwise nice pickups here from Militia 6.
You gotta give huge props to the tank line here so far from Militia 6, because Fair, he was untouched the whole game. The sleep darts also on point scored sanity. I think the monk sleep more than he's been awake. But somehow the kill feed starts to turn blue as well. And meanwhile, only tanks on the payload anymore. Those should be easy cleanup here for Militia 6 unless they screw this up.
Also, unfortunately, just absolutely outclassed here in terms of both a ton of damage being poured in and numbers, and can't handle a lot of that 4v1, but only so much you can do with just one mech.
Oh, bat spawn's just what I talked about before. 3 people are having this bat spawn. Let's see how Militia 6 is able to snowball this, and look at the Mercy.
JCB trying to keep things on the side of his team and try and mitigate the effects of those staggered spawns. They are getting a bunch of kills in the defense, so they are going to give themselves a little bit of real estate to work with, a little bit of breathing room on this phase. But you're right, a bunch of them do get caught out on these really bad spawns. This payload is going to inch its way up to the first curve, but nonetheless, the defense has situated themselves in pretty good position, both behind the ship and a few on top. And Traffic Cone does find Fairer. Chemicals has to be careful too. He's up on top of the ship and trying to get rid of these backline offenders here with this Widowmaker, though Manimal almost getting cut down, barely getting out of there, and is able to pop the Valkyrie and the reses onto Scorch, and then looking for another one. Scorch the only one going down the JCB. JCB putting up numbers, but only by themselves here. And then Chemicals burning a Blade, and then a Valkyrie too. They're really going off with these ultimates, trying to get everything down. A Transcendence they do have to cut through, and they are successful. A bunch of ults being burned on both sides though, and this payload is just coming to a halt for just a moment, but as the rest of these kills do get cleaned up, the remainder, this payload will continue from Militia 6.
Yeah, but this could be still another contest here from Barbaric Dusk, because the tanks are coming in from the right side, but yet again a really great bio grenade. It buys time still though for Barbaric Dusk, and a Dragon Blade for Ham is coming up. Let's see if he decides to unshiv his blade here. JCB popping off in the meanwhile. He doesn't even need to use his blade anymore because JCB just picked up a 4K there.
Yeah, that's what happens when you ignore the Widowmaker throughout the duration of a fight. It's essentially just shooting fish in a barrel. And he's got breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I would say, with those shootings there. So JCB, and then another one, going for dessert. Gets in the, I wouldn't want fish for dessert, so I'll take that back. He'll save it for another day, but does get another kill nonetheless. And this payload is going to start inching away from the checkpoint again. Farah has just been somewhat quiet in this game because JCB taking actually hogging all the spotlight here on Widowmaker throughout this map.
Yeah, now this is going to be the hard part for Militia 6, because you can see the defending team is already set up here on the high ground, and pretty much what's going to happen here is the tanks are going to jump anyone who walks out of any of those 4 doors and just try to insta-gip him. And if somehow the enemy tank line gets to jump on the ship, the own tanks just turn their tanks and kill them, and then it's just a cleanup and number advantage. So let's see how they handle this. Tanks are up on the ship with an boosted monkey though.
Yeah, boosted gorilla throwing things around up onto the ship, but actually they jump right down. They're like, oh, this payload just, no one's on it, no one's watching it. Why not move it in? And they almost do so, almost sneaking it in. Rez now burning the Valkyrie to get Garms back into the fray. He's going to try and chase down some of these squishies. He has to be careful of this Diva Bomb from his team. It's not going to pick anyone up, so he still has to deal with more numbers on his side. And Farah, though, evening things out. JCB finds himself way too close for comfort in front of these two snipers, in front of the Ana and the Widowmaker. He gets put down very quickly. And then Hammerai also ragdolling off to the side. So finally, Musha 6 get control of the payload after a little bit of a detour here in the second phase of Gibraltar, with none other than Barbaric Dusk, who now have a little bit of a problem here. Farah is set up and looking down her sights on this sight line, the very long lane at the end of Gibraltar here, and looking for heads, clicking hard, but so far hasn't found any. But once Farah gets one or two, that's going to be more of an avalanche coming down here from Militia 6 as this fight moves over to the right side. He clips someone as they come out of it. Hebedic's trying to just foray on top of this bridge. Farah picks up Amurai, though, and have a Diva Bomb. It's Garms, though, getting onto the board. Not that Diva Bomb, onto Farah. But at this point, Farah had already done a bunch of damage, and Kelth, though, also not distracted or abated by the other monkey, picks up a bunch of kills as well as chemicals, and that is a huge advantage as his payload moves right in.
Yeah, and there's a desperation play of Traffic Cone with that Transcendence trying to touch the point, so overtime is ticking, or the contesting is ticking. He gets taken out immediately though after his Transcendence, and now desperation time for the whole team as Rem tries to stay alive. Gets shot down though by the monkey player, and Farah is in the meanwhile untouched on the high ground, just shooting those long lanes as you mentioned it before, and I think this is gonna be it here. Militia 6 push through with a bit more than 2 minutes left.
That is just so hard to hold on defense. It's really a frame trap picking Widowmaker on that third point of Gibraltar. It's either you contest the Widowmaker and take bodies away from the payload that's so far away on that third checkpoint, or you leave Farah on Widowmaker in that perch and he just gets free shots, free body damage, free headshots over and over and over with no one stopping him. So there's really, you have to pick one option out of two. You get 50-50 right there, and the mix-up will sauce you, as we saw Barbaric Dusk having a very, very difficult time dealing with the onslaught of these six here. So yeah, having almost no trouble at all, Militia 6. After they got through, I mean, on the first point, they seemed to be going through it pretty swiftly. Second point, that's when JCB started to kick in, and we saw a little bit of that long-term top speed coming out from him. But then the acceleration from Farah, once again, after they got control of the payload again, on the third phase of the map, they were just going off, and it was another really, really quick segment of Gibraltar.
Yeah, and it's important to know that Militia 6 didn't have a Zenyatta, so they didn't have a defensive hold, and as a result of that, they had to play really aggressive, which they actually did, because their Nana boost was pretty much on cooldown whenever they used it, and that Nana monkey in Hangar phase just managed to create enough space that everyone of Barbaric Dusk had to drop down from the ship, and this is when their team could go out of the holes, no one would be able to jump them, and they could create enough space, and then they clean it up, and after that, Farah had all the time for his life to aim for the shoots on the lost phase, and now third, it's gonna be flipped. We see Barbaric Dusk on the attack, and no wonder we see two Widowmakers again.
No wonder indeed. Farah's still sticking onto that Widowmaker. Things are pretty much identical, if not exactly identical, to the previous round, and again, yeah, Gibraltar, another land of the dive. Definitely the, I would say, national language here on these maps. Dive composition. Farah, though, getting on the board first. A big pick onto JCB. So we saw JCB putting in work on defense as Widowmaker. Now Farah, who can set up first and hold sightlines first, getting some opportunities. Ooh, helping out Scorch with some nice shots, taking out Hammerai, and things will reset here for Militia 6 as the rest of Barbaric does have to relinquish back to spawn. JCB trying to get a couple shots in, but does have to duck back in to the heal wall. And so a little bit of time eaten away here with the help of Militia 6's hard defense, but Traffic going, putting down Farah. They need to burn the res, but there's an opportunity. That's a cue for the rest of Barbaric Dust to jump right in and take advantage, but the kills are not going their way. They still have to jump back off of the bridge. They don't really have much position to chase kills here. Darms does get rid of Heppo, and now Kelth keeping away the Widowmaker on the point, so you can't try and clean up some kills. And Payload is moving, though. Otho is on it. That's going to get Kelth, triggering him up onto the point, trying to clean things up, but Otho does get his mech in time. Rez getting onto Hammerai, and then Otho does actually pick up Kelth as he wasn't supported by any supports at all. So that's a pretty of an unnecessary loss there on the side of Militia 6, and they're going to pay for it a little bit. This Payload is lurching forward. Garms finding Manimal. They're just slowly but surely losing numbers on this. That forces the pop Transcendence from Scorch, and Farah getting on again with 2 on the mech and then onto Hamurai, putting more shots down, but JCB returning the favor, getting onto Chemicals on that slight incline just behind the payload, but Habidex finding him, putting him down. Scorch also getting rid of Garms. He's been too much trouble on that back line, does cut him down. Count. Rem, though, getting the res in the JCB, but Habidex finding Rem as he does so. Oh, nice snipe. And Manimal also going Battle Mercy to help clean up the kill of JCB, putting himself and found himself back in the graveyard.
Yeah, and Rem even used Valkyrie there in the end, so there's not going to be any Valkyrie up for Barbaric Dusk. All they have to work with is Infraside and the Blade. But Scorched Sanity had used the Transcendence before, so if Hamurai is going huge here, he could ensure that his team can push on, but you can't go huge if you're dead.
Yeah, you know what's going
or
huge?
if his teammate is dead.
Yeah, Traffic Cone is going huge. It's taking out a big, high-quality target before the fight really gets going, but the rest of his team, thankfully there to get the rest of the kills as the fight transitions closer towards him. A Diva Mech up top, but there's no one on that altitude. No one there going to be clipped by that bomb, sitting all the way up at the top of that high ground. So the fight now transitioning back over to the point. Another Diva Bomb outside the server room, going to try and catch someone. It does get Garms as he tries to fall back into the server room. He usually gets the D-Mech onto Alto. A Blade still going right in. Genji trying to find some more, but Hapodex getting big with the big boost, then finding squishies in this back area. Kelth also jumping and slinging his way up onto Hamurai for the kill. Militia 6 holding very hard here on defense. Even though JCB cutting down Farrer, it's the rest of Militia 6 that are just so strong in keeping the rest of the team alive, and then once Farrer gets back in, he picks up another couple kills, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, and with the time going to 45 seconds, this could potentially be the last push for Barbaric Dusk here, and they don't really have too much to work with except the support ults, but sometimes that's all you need, especially in the current meta with Mercy. But Rem falling again to Farrer, and Farrer returns the favor onto JCB, wants to have more of the round wins there in the Widowmaker battle. Time is at 25 seconds, I think that's gonna be close, Rapture.
Very close. It'll be such a hard task to complete here if Barbaric Dusk can push us the entirety. It might be even possibly the rest of this checkpoint. That still seems like a huge task to take on here. But here they go, taking a task, jumping upstairs with the Primal Rage and going in hard, trying to dislodge any of Militia 6 up here, looking for these squishies, looking for the Mercy. Transcendence coming out from Traffic Cone as he feels pressure. JCB again putting down Farrer before he's able to get any big opportunity to kill. Scorch now with Transcendence of their own, but can't keep Chemicals alive. Manimal, though, is there with the res. Rem's still on Valkyrie as well. Buddy gets put down by Scorch, who finds him with a big orb. Garms couldn't get rid of Chemicals, unable to leave a big lasting imprint. So the rest of this fight, a Diva Bomb outlasting the Winston bubble gets rid of Hamurai. Both of these Genjis getting put down before their engines really get revving here. And Hepodix getting rid of Garms. No one left on the point for Barbaric Dusk, even though a few numbers were still alive. Although can't get there in time, Militia 6 will take map number 2 in this set, pulling off a win on Gibraltar 3-0, moving with a 2-map advantage going into our third map.
And even though they lost the map, it seems like JCB might have won the Widowmaker battle. I believe this is the 4K year that we're going to see 2 headshots, 2 clicks, moves on for the third one and gives the fourth one for style, but even more shots there on the Monkey. So really good performance from his side, but in the end it was not enough. As for the team play here with Barbaric Dusk, and it's maybe exactly what I've touched on before, that this map is kind of a team play based map, or shows it off the most at least.
Yeah, there's, like I was commenting on earlier in this set, it was, you want to see that transition of how these players, go from their control dive to their escort dive. And yeah, definitely a bigger emphasis on team coordination and synergy rather than just being mostly a big deathmatch scenario. And we saw Barbaric Dusk unfortunately faltering against Militia 6. And I like that Militia 6 didn't really have any trouble picking up a little bit of extra work, getting a little bit extra credit in, as they saw Farrer wasn't able to get the job done entirely. We saw Traffic Cone stepping into his shoes for a little bit here and there, getting rid of Scorched Sanity, getting rid of a couple members here and there. And even Barbaric Dusk finding the same thing on their side when JCB couldn't get the job done at times. Traffic Cone on the Zenyatta also getting some big picks with those long range shots. So both teams still are playing it out very well and having some outs when they get into sticky situations. But so far, Militia 6 having many more escapes here and many more opportunities to get some wins. And they're definitely getting some big opportunities here on Anubis, because this is the map they've marked as one of their favorites. So looking forward to see what they pull out here. This is the first time I've seen a team intentionally mark Anubis or any other 2CP map, for that matter, as a map they'd like to play on.
2CP is only bad in solo queue, man. 2CP is a team-based mode. That's why most teams hate it, because it's hard to get good as a team. Like, it sounds silly, but it's exactly what it is. And here, maybe they like it because, for example, Farah can play his Widowmaker again. And lately in Overwatch League, we have seen some different defensive strats, especially with the Orisa boosted onto the roof. Have a Widowmaker there being protected by a shield, and there's not a whole lot to do for you against it. However, so far, it seems like there's not an Overwatch League strat. It's a good old school on the platform strat here with Orisa, but both teams are running that Widowmaker again.
Yeah, Barbaric Dusk making a trade here. They're putting up a barrier, but they're losing mobility and they're making themselves a little more static here. That could burn them in the end. JCB, though, picking up Fairer. And yeah, I'm sorry, Militia 6, who are over in the blue now. Barbaric Dusk moving over to the red. And yeah, so that might be, let's see how that works out with Militia 6. They are staying a little more static, but they're chunking up together and just picking off players one by one. But JCB returning the favor, sitting up on the high ground and picking off characters left and right with the help of Traffic Cone too, as he helps usher the rest of the group onto the point. Militia 6 is essentially nowhere to be found. They're hiding in this pocket. Once they break out, the rest of the team has already been slaughtered. It is a Militia 6 extermination here. And the entirety of that group has gone extinct. They are on the fossil record. And thankfully for them, Barbaric Dusk doesn't have to research that far to get this win. A bunch of kills from JCB, making this very, very easy, almost too easy for Barbaric Dusk as they capture point A.
Yeah, and thanks to that kill on Farah, they potentially could snowball here. And man, the threat of a Widowmaker just being there is already enough. But if your Widowmaker hits shots like JCB, that's a whole kind of other threat, as his team can push onto the point now thanks to his picks. Both Wildcarries coming out, Diva Bomb as well, and now a long prolonged fight is going to engage, as we hear the Traffic Cone using its Transcendence there.
Oh, and Manimal, both Mercies actually popping this Valkyrie here. Kelth and Scorched Sanity, though, looking good for Militia 6 as the rest of this fight moving over to the bridge. A Diva Bomb somewhat oddly positioned on the edge of the point. And now Somber Ultimate, the big switch from Scorched Sanity, getting an EMP out, but Hammer Eye already had the blade and is able to cut him down despite the EMP, getting a bunch of kills and able to salvage the rest of this fight here for Barbaric Dusk as they continue to push onto point B. And it looks like they do, in fact, get the first chevron there, first third of point B. And now the defense trying to stagger in here, but also getting a bunch of kills. And with the help of this Widowmaker, JCB, who's sitting unabated on this platform upstairs, a ton of body shots coming down, hides behind the pylon. A Diva Bomb coming from Heppo should help this defense get a little bit of room onto this point, and indeed just enough for Chemicals to absolutely one-inch punch Otho to his death. And that defense all of a sudden showing back up here for Militia 6. Chemicals on the board, big picks here, and that should be enough for Militia 6 to stabilize.
And that's exactly the factor that teams hate about those 2CP maps. If you start kicking in the staggering process, it can be so frustrating. We've pretty much spent over a minute on that last point just fighting, and now they have stabilized and they have picked up that Sombra that we didn't touch on yet, and the EMP is ready to go again, and EMP is just such a brutal ultimate here because it's so close quarter. If they are going into those tunnels, I can expect a huge EMP from Scorched Sanity to come in.
That's pretty much setting it up here. And there's the primal, there's the EMP coming out in conjunction with the Primal Rage, and everything's being thrown down here for Militia 6. Sharper, you're wondering why teams may not like 2CP at times, and it is definitely hard. Once you get that easy first point A, you can see point B becomes such an issue once these EMPs come into play, and all these defensive stall tactics, well, just ways to mitigate the ultimate usages coming out from offense, and the EMP, the fat EMPs coming out, those are taking out all the broadband and everything else in between. And yeah,
however,
it's so hard for the offense.
Barbaric Dusk really was disciplined on after the EMP fight because they didn't give them any more EMP charge to work with, and now all they have to work with is going to be a Diva Bomb coming up from Hepodix. That's the first pick onto Chemical is happening. This could be an opening here for Barbaric Dusk. Let's see how they handle it, because the EMP is getting closer and closer to be up again, but it seems like they don't even need the EMP. 3 kills here from Militia 6, as there's a monkey jumping around on the point and smartly disengaging now.
Oh, might be a possible stagger on the side of Barbaric Dusk. Are they going to lose Garms? No, Garms is going to be able to just get away. Oh, he doesn't see the Doomfist waiting for him in the corner. But Chemicals, unfortunately, out of position there. He didn't get the kill, so it wasn't worth it. And now this might be a Q, but unfortunately, the defense for Barbaric Dusk is Militia 6 is ready and waiting right outside the checkpoint. Scorch sending another EMP as the offense trying to jump in, but it's not going to stop the barrier, and the Diva Bomb's being thrown down. And a bunch of kills now coming the way of Barbaric Dusk as they move and just bully their way onto the point with the help of this Q from Hammer Eye. Big Death Blossom coming down. Only going to pick up Manimal, but a ton of residual damage, and the rest of the stragglers on the point. Now it's Fair trying to keep the rest of Militia 6, just giving them some more time so they can get back onto the point, but even he's put down by Hammer Eye, who has the quick on-the-fly switch to Reaper, paying off huge. Looks like he invested into that Reaper coin, and he has not been affected by the crypto crash here. And getting even more off of these kills as Kel just desperately trying to stay on here with the Primal Rage, but his team is not there to help him out. Until finally Diva gets onto the point, but JCB has already cleaned up Farah and Scorch. Hepodix trying to get more off the Diva. Chemical swinging things with a big right click onto Traffic Cone, and now they have a little bit of a numbers advantage between these lines. Another Diva Bomb being thrown down outside the bubble. No one there is going to get caught though. Kelp getting a DMAC and then killing Garms and Otho with the help of Chemicals. Farrer getting onto the board as well, and Militia 6 somehow staying on and holding on by just a thread to this point.
And after that failed EMP, the EMP didn't even go through anymore because Scorch Santi just died the exact same moment. It was all about the desperation play from Calv there, buying enough time for his team to go back onto the point and somehow managing to hold on to it with 93% up for Barbaric Dusk. However, Barbaric Dusk, 4 ultimates nearly coming up, and the most important is going to be Traffic Cone. If he can hide from that EMP and then use the beat drop, that could be huge. But we see the fight, Calv already picking out the Mercy again. I think that's going to force another reset here.
Oh, Hammer Eye is sitting on the Death Blast, but they can get rid of Heppo's Diva Mech. He gets rid of it for them with the Diva Bomb, but he picks up 2 to trade that one. Chemicals and Heppo going down from Otho, and Otho now with there's no Diva Mech waiting for him, gets another 2 from the Death Blossom. That was the win condition they needed, and they secure it with a great confirm. Great job by Barbaric Dusk. They found exactly what they needed. Just get rid of the Diva Mech and then hit Q as Reaper, and it worked out flawlessly. Unfortunately, Militia 6 cannot hold on for long enough to get their defense back on. They're going to now walk away limping, just losing 2 points there, but they still have a big opportunity to bring this to a round 3 on Anubis. Barbaric Dusk does get those 2 points, but only a minute and 39 on the clock.
And they couldn't have looked any worse at the start of the fight for Barbaric Dusk because they just have lost Ram. But Otto coming up huge there with the double bomb, followed up by the Death Blossom from Hammer Eye, and finishing a 2 CP map is actually a huge thing to do. I think you'd agree with me on that because we've seen the staggering coming in already from Militia 6, and if Barbaric Dusk can do the same thing and maybe even a little bit better, they might be able to hold on to Anubis here and win that round and ensure that there's going to be some more games here. But Ferrer, I mean, he's not shown up too much yet here on Widowmaker, but we got to give him the fact that it's maybe a bit easier in attack. So let's see if he can just, like JCB in that first push, be such a threat that either Barbaric Dusk has to go hide in the houses and not be able to touch point, or they show up on the point and Ferrer can open up his show.
Yeah, you're right. This is more of a stage here for Widowmaker on offense, that is, to get some kills as opposed to defense. Definitely becomes a lot harder. And then, of course, you lose all that opportunity on the second point. There really isn't too much room for Widowmaker to stay alive very long and get some good sight lines on defense as opposed to offense. So, yeah, now it's Ferrer's turn to strut his stuff here as Widowmaker as they go and break out here on offense on the side of Militia 6. They're seeing Barbaric Dusk in the red. They're doing what you pointed out earlier. They have this Orisa situated all the way up on this far high ground, boosted up here, and now has the shield down in front of the Diva, the Widowmaker, and we even see a Junkrat coming on the side of them. JCB getting on the board first, getting rid of Chemicals. Militia 6 already possibly rethinking their route as they go into point A here. They are going to stick to this left side, giving them some cover while the rest of the team tries to get back out here. But they have their entire support line, like, just stuck on the other side of this gateway, trying to get some opportunity for them to clump back up. And they do. Now they're going to take this left side pathway as they, of course, with the defense situated so up in this high ground, they really can't stop them from doing so. But JCB picking out Manimal as he peeks his head out up on these Calcobes, and even Heropodix getting biting off a little more than he can chew there, and also getting DMEC and losing his life right outside of that left pathway. So a more delay here on the side of Militia 6. Fair is gonna pick up Hammer Eye, but is it going to be enough for them to move up onto this? JCB says no. Takes care of Manimal and Chemicals and the rest from Hammer Eye. It's a trade. 2 for 2. Farah gets JCB and Rems. So this is just back and forth. Widows going after one another and then some. Trying to take out their family, showing what's up at stake in these points. Farah getting rid of Hammer Eye again. And then Scorched Center, he's like, I'm not going to be shown up here. I'm going to get rid of my own Zen. But then JCB collapsing and getting rid of for getting rid of Farah. Now it's Otho getting DMAC'd onto the point. The big chunky Garms are going to get cut down almost in half there. And it looks like Militia 6, after these Widows trading, it's just JCB, unfortunately, not enough to stop the other 5 of Militia 6 from getting onto the point and taking care of their more static defense in Orisa. And yeah, that'll be a point completion there for Militia 6.
And due all to that action happening there, we didn't get to touch on that. The defense was kind of split on high ground. You actually want everyone to be on the high ground with Orisa if you have the chance to, but somehow the Zenyatta didn't get up there. And look, there's an opening for Militia 6. 1 kill coming in, 2nd coming in from Chemicals. He makes it 3. As there is the DMAC pulled up by the kill from Heppo, and suddenly there's 5 people on the point with 6 people down from Barrack Dust. This could be already it, unless the Sombra here is gonna stall out enough time to get in some reinforcements. Dragon Blade coming out from Chemicals at the spawn here, swinging it once, swinging it twice, and that's already it. 5.5 minutes coming in from Militia 6. That's a huge time to go with.
Yeah, Militia 6, they're trying to hit that Militia 6 mark, but unfortunately they're only the Militia's 537 at this point on Anubis. But that's still more than enough time here to have a very, very significant lead, almost a 4-minute lead here. 3 minutes and 58-second lead exactly for the side of Militia 6. So they're looking definitely comfortable going into round 3 here, as it took way more time on point B for Barbaric Dust to clinch point B. So they'll be able to get point A, sure, but they'll have essentially scraps to work with, pocket change to work with on point B to try and convert onto another capture. Instead, though, on the side of Militia 6, it's taking 5 minutes and 37 seconds. They have all the time in the world to get both points here if they need so. And I say that because, like we just saw, they were so swift in getting on. They had absolutely no problem in doing so. Things kind of fell apart for Barbaric Dust when they were forced to position themselves on, point B, and they didn't really have a lot of time to do so either, as Militia 6 was right in their grills almost immediately.
Yeah, and I think even Militia 6 is noticing that pretty much the only tick the Barbaric Dust, has here is if they come in, snowball the first point, snowball the second point. That's pretty much the only chance, and thus they're picking up the Sombra already on the first point. So if they win the first fight, great, they're gonna have an EMP second fight and can probably full hold the first point. If they lose the first fight though, they're probably gonna have the EMP for the second point and be safe there. So let's see how the Sombra strat is working out here, as we see Chemicals also on the Doomfist again.
Yeah, that's a scary thing to think about. That Sombra. You're right, the Doomfist.
JCB.
Ooh, JCB though, taking care of Farah, and there's really no one other than that D.Va to be able to contest him. Once Farah goes down, the Chemicals and Kelp picking up the slack, getting a bunch of kills, and even Kelp does find JCB and gets rid of Rem as well, as Heppodex has been kind of preoccupied elsewhere. The Monkey taking up his reins there and get rid of the Widowmaker. Nice job. And now we have the Doomfist also coming. Yeah, the Doomfist still hanging around here, and we also hear that Sombra just hacking away and getting closer and closer to that dreaded EMP.
80% on the EMP, so any moment soon she's gonna have it up as she's healing up. 92%, and notice the time, 40 seconds. That's at maximum 2 more push for the side of Barbaric Dust. They're gonna have to be swift here, but Fair opens things up with the kill into JCB, returns to Fair for the last round, and 30 seconds and ticking, that EMP is there, and it's gonna be only one fight. That EMP is gonna come in huge from Scorched Sanity.
Yeah, if they even need it at this point. Barbaric Dusk, they don't have any ultimates in their bank. They might have a Transcendence while the fight's already going, but that means Traffic Point has to stay alive. And there's no Primal Rage to keep them up. Kelth going down though from Hammer Eye. It's a big pick before they get going. That forces the res out.
No one's there coming in too.
Yeah, here comes the EMP bomb. Nice deep Bob. There's the EMP. JCB taking out Scorch, but it's too little too late, and Otho can't get onto the point in time. Barbaric Dusk unable to convert to a point A completion. Now all we have to see coming out from Militia 6 is they just need just a third of point A and they're good to go.
Yeah, and they have nearly that malicious 6 minutes that you mentioned before, so they can pretty much try anything they want here, but I feel like they don't even need to try anything special because of how well Fair has been doing in attack, and he's already hovering the Widowmaker again, and all they need is 1 or 2 picks and then settle themselves down on the point, and that's all they need for Fair, because as soon as someone shows up on the point, I'm pretty sure he has his crosser right above their heads, and man, 6 minutes, that's a tough task.
Yeah, that's gonna be a very long and grueling 6 minutes. I mean, such a really, really, really long defensive hold here, necessary from Barbaric Dusk. So Traffic Cone looks like he's gonna be throwing down the Sombra, trying to build these ultimates, build these EMPs as soon as possible, and get rid of any kind of advantage they can possibly have. I mean, there's only so many factors you can control here on defense, and you have to be perfect every single fight, so why not control the ones you can? And trying to get rid of mitigate the ultimate builds on the side of Militia 6 would be great, and also just mitigating ultimates entirely would be absolutely amazing to keep the sustain going. So Traffic Cone is going to be on that Sombra, but that leaves them with only 1 support. If Mercy goes down, that's pretty much it. They have to rely on health pack, so that's a big ask here coming out from Team Barbaric Dusk. As, a sniper shot's coming down from Chemicals, being rained down from JCB as he tries to push his luck on the right side. Does resituate back onto the bridge with the help of Heppo. And now they're going to just saunter their way down these steps, trying to hold this wall that forces the high ground to jump down, and Hammer Eye just gets obliterated by Chemicals without even an opportunity to blink an eye. And then Chemicals taking care of JCB. And this looks like Militia 6 is able to hold on to this point before it's even held on to Barbaric Dusk. They haven't really gotten themselves onto the point. They get rid of Manimal, though, with the help of Traffic Cone, but Traffic Cone still has not gotten this EMP just yet. Is getting close, though, but his team is going down slowly but surely. By the time he gets it, no one's going to be alive. He gets it finally, but this is going to be out in time. Still alive. Kelth gets rid of Hammer Eye, but the rest of this team is essentially dead here.
EMP.
And EMP beats thrown down, but is it going to be enough? All he has is the Winston still on his side. Helps the D-Mech. He's still alive, but gets cut down. Sniped between the eyes by Farrer. And Militia 6 will take another map, finishing off Barbaric Dusk on Anubis. Now they're up 3-0.
And it was exactly what we talked about. Like, as soon as they set their foot on the point, Fair was uncontested from that point, and there was way too much pressure for Barbaric Dusk to handle, and it was a pretty fast take as well. They only took like half a minute or maybe a minute, so it really shined through why this is their favorite map. It seems like they can just make Fair pop off anyways on that map because of how well they play around the Widowmaker, and that was a beauty to watch for sure. But props again to JCB. He didn't give Farrell an easy life to work with because he has clicked him once or twice as well, even on this map.
Yeah, I wish I could just be throwing down these Widow 1v1s here. I love watching it though. And Militia 6 and Barbaric Dusk really fielding some very strong Widowmakers, but also very strong teams outside of that. And it's interesting because, Barbaric Dusk, this is not their first roster as far as I know. I have seen both Barbaric Dusk and Barbaric Black participating in tournaments as far back as I believe 2016. Certainly in 2017 as well. Seen him at some Athena Cup Cal League events, both of these teams, but definitely new roster on the side of Barbaric Dusk. We do see a sub change as well, as I believe one of Barbaric's players has been ejected from the side. I think we're going to see Ebel Jackal jumping in on the side of Barbaric Dusk. Militia 6 will be sticking with their roster. So Sharper, we're moving on to, I believe this will be our hybrid map. We've gone through Control, we've gone through Escort, Assault, now we're on Hybrid. And any map you're particularly looking forward to?
I really would love to see King's Row, and I think JCB already said they want to pick up King's Row here, and so we're gonna see whether or not, but I always love to see King's Row, especially here in Switzerland, because I love to see how the meta here for you guys is on King's Row. In Switzerland, there is settled down one meta where you would always pick a Hanzo and attack, send your Hanzo through the hotel, let him Sonic Arrow behind the team, and he would just push through. And even though every team here in Switzerland knows on the highest level, okay, they're gonna do that. Everyone is doing that. And it was like Nadir, the first guy who did it, so it's the Nadir strat. And every team knows, okay, they're gonna have a Hanzo, and he's gonna do that. but every team still falls for it. So I'd love to see King's Row, but also because it's like a classic map. It's somewhat the Dust 2, excuse me. That's what we like to call it here, the Dust 2 of Overwatch, and it's really narrow. So it opens up for that Reinhardt Zarya strategy that you barely see anymore, and for many fights and many ults, because you can't really escape. There's just one path to go, and you're gonna be there, and you go either take damage or do damage, and so you're gonna have a lot of ultimates. So it's gonna be maybe a bit of a clown fiesta, but I hope not. I hope more for an old festival here.
I was gonna ask what they call it over in Switzerland. We say Dust 2 over here. I like to say the final destination or the Smashville of Temple.
Yeah, that's actually also good. Like Fox
Right?
only or what?
Exactly. Yeah, just Hanzo's only. King's Row.
But is there like a certain kind of composition that teams prefer here? Because in Switzerland there really is like many teams are just going with their Hansen attack pretty much. That's all the teams do, and then some teams run it in a 2-2-2. Some teams like I played with would run triple tank and Hanzo, and the defense would always be standard. Like you have a Junkrat and the Soldier and add something to that or defensive dive, but always that Hanzo attack is so prominent in Switzerland. Is there like a pick here and an A that they do on King's Row?
I know that. I mean, you point out like Reinhardt Zarya. That's common pick. Orisa Roadhog, you'll see that, or Orisa Diva. I think just teams are more likely to go on those death ball clumpier compositions. It's interesting that you pointed out a specific strategy with the Hanzo, even though that is like the logic of how you would use him. Throwing down the scouting, getting into hotel, putting some shots in the back. Mostly, a lot of time you'll just see the Hanzo for the scouting arrow, and then they'll back out.
Yeah.
Changed over to a Widowmaker or a Pharah. Definitely wouldn't be surprised to see Widowmaker to go for a couple shots here, or a Pharah if they're going to go for a full dive. That's one of the things that's nice about King's Row is that teams are still willing to jump in with either like a death ball composition that's based around chunkier, more static tanks like Reinhardt, like Zarya, like Orisa, and then Roadhog thrown in, or going for dive, going for Genji, going for Pharah. You'll see maybe Tracer worked in a little bit towards the other parts of the map, but it seems like it's more of a Genji, Pharah 76 kind of map here. And speaking of those characters, like I said, we do have a change in DPS for both of these sides. On the side of Barbaric Dusk, who are in the blue, they have Ebel Jackal being swapped right in here. And then on the other side, Militia 6 coming out instead of Pharah, we have Mullard as our other DPS swap. So both these teams, and not surprising, I mean, these teams are using these scrims not only to get a feel for the teams, but possibly try out different lineups as well as even tryouts entirely. I believe last week, a week before, we saw at least one or two teams trying out members in these scrims. And considering that Militia 6 is, according to them, been around for only 2 weeks, I'm still not surprised that they're, still trying to put together their actual lineup here in terms of who they want to field for open division and other competitions. But they're still 4-0 in these weeks, so they're fielding something good. And we've seen it very well against here Barbaric Dusk. But yeah, they're swapping things out, putting Mullet in for Pharah. And on the defensive side here, Barbaric Dusk, like I said, have Ebel Jackal. They're going with the Reinhardt Zarya. And then we're seeing, especially Junkrat. This was already a map for Junkrat, I think, before his buffs. But then once his buffs came in, they really amplified Junkrat's pick rate on King's Row, and it almost seems like he's a must pick, especially on point A.
Yeah, and Mullard, I just checked his profile. He has like 80% of his playtime Tracer, so it's kind of no surprise for me that Militia 6 here is running that dive composition in, with him being such a prominent place player. And look at the angle they already have. They're trying to push the team into that corner, which gives the Pharah only one angle that she has to shoot at, and now there's just, oh my god, a monkey just zapping around the whole team. They're trapped into the hotel, and there's not a whole lot you can do anymore once you're pushed back so far, and that seemed like a pretty easy take here for Militia 6.
Not sure how much Barbaric Dusk anticipated a full dive on the side of Militia 6. They probably should have, considering their track record throughout this set, as they kind of found themselves falling back on their heel here, getting, as you said, completely melted and pushed up by this really aggro dive offense coming out from Militia 6, pushing him into that back pocket, and now buying themselves a ton of time here and positioning as the payload moves through the second phase. They're just going to push up as far as possible on phase 2 of King's Row. Very standard here to go as far as possible and try and get closer to the second checkpoint. And it's very easy with this Pharah just raining around, throwing pot shots from far away. that really can't be abated by the Zarya, nor the Reinhardt, nor the Junkrat. On the side of Barbaric Dusk, it has to be the 76 and the Zenyatta, and they just lost both of them right there. So who's going to stop Chemicals? Absolutely nobody. He's going to rain down hot justice from above, gets 3, and now the rest of the team going for more. That's going to be a very, very easy win there for Malicious 6. And there's Chemical picking up a couple barrage kills here. That was just not, like I said, there's no one waiting for this. There's no Zenyatta, no 76. He even picks up one of them, gets a couple kills, and then just easy pickings to the rest of the team.
And King's Row is so unforgiving for mistakes, especially because of how narrow it is. I mentioned that before, and you saw how fast Mullard and Chemicals got their ults, and with those 2 DPS ults, they could just snowball through easily in that street phase, and Chemicals even picking up L-Checkle again. And now they just have to go further back and back, but the team of Malicious 6 is just onto them, still picking out another target with that D.Va Bomb Heppo, and look at them, they are going back into the spawn. That's how scared they are, and let's see if they adjust something to their team comp, or if they stick around with Reinhardt Zarya, because they still have ultimates to work with. I probably expect them to use them and then switch to a Monkey and a D.Va, but let's see what they do.
Yeah, they have very little time to do so they better make these ultimates count. But they have to be careful. Scorch is sitting on a Transcendence, and Chemicals takes out Rem. Such a great pick before this fight goes. A Graviton, though, locking Malicious 6 into this corner. There's unfortunately no one there in time to get a bunch of kills. Riptide coming down from Applejack on a right click from JCB. A Transcendence after the fact, keeping the rest of the team alive. Oh, almost knocking away this D.Va. And unfortunately, though, Heppo trying to get away, but can't get through the Omnic slums below, and will fall to his death. And then Scorch also joining his brethren down there. So a reset coming out from the side of Malicious 6. They got a bunch, they got a little bit of an opportunity to try and dive in and get some kills after getting the pick onto Rem, but unfortunately they get sucked up and lose the battle as a result.
And eyes are gonna be on Otto though here, because he swapped to that D.Va to deny the Pharah, and maybe possibly also Mullard with the pulse bomb coming up. He's gonna be the key player for Barbaric Dusk inside the Shatter. There is the Pharah barrage I talked about. Only gets 1 kill, but the D-Mech as well, and Resurrections are coming in from both sides. But Cal is going huge on that Monkey, and he's just zapping around people. Both kill feeds are turning in both favors, and now the Reinhardt, look at the Reinhardt, he's just holding his shield, he can't do much, gets just circled around by all the players of Malicious 6, and I think that's gonna be it. That's a huge time with around 4 minutes left, or 3 minutes?
Yeah, that was almost, it seemed even quicker than what we just saw in Anubis. So, Barbaric Dusk, it seemed like they weren't able to keep up with the ultimate gain that was being posted by Malicious 6, and that definitely comes from the fact that Malicious 6 had won the very small amount of fights that were in that map, so of course they're going to have a larger ultimate advantage, but there was really very little way for Barbaric Dusk to fight, claw their way back. It's kind of like, just a never-ending feedback loop there. They can't win the fights to get more ult charge, they don't have any ult charge to win the fights, and there's really no way to, fight your way back out of that vortex sometimes, especially with the aggro offense coming out from Malicious 6 that only took a little bit of time to recuperate and then busted down the doors immediately. Though, good job by Barbaric Dusk. They did have a little bit of a defensive foray there and holding on for at least one fight towards the end with a great Graviton coming down from Otho, I believe. So they still showed signs of life in that defense. But yeah, Malicious 6 just absolutely cannibalizing essentially the other players of Barbaric Dusk in a very, very, very quick route. 4 minutes on the clock, as you said.
Yeah, maybe they were a little bit too greedy there, holding onto that slow composition with that Zarya and Reinhardt for too long, because if you're running against the dive, we could see it in the end. The Reinhardt couldn't do anything. There were people left, right, behind him, everywhere, and you can't hold your shield against that. And if you want to try to swing the people around, they're all so mobile, you're pretty much never going to get in range. And I think it was their biggest burden, that they didn't realize that this dive composition could snowball through and swap the team comp just too late. I think a Monkey could have done great there to help out, counter dive maybe a bit and deny all that aggressiveness. But now let's see how they do an attack, as they're running a little bit of a weird setup, if you ask me. They have tanking dive tanks, but at the same time they have a Widowmaker and a Junkrat, so I don't know what they're expecting, but so far it seems to be working out as JCB opens things up here.
Yeah, that Widowmaker I pointed out earlier, good option, but you're right, without any other divers, they're really just going for picks and picks only, and that's, you know, sometimes you gotta just go with the way of the world in terms of luckiness, and these picks are just really go ham, and unfortunately, if you're playing just a mostly poke and pick composition, sometimes you're gonna lose a lot of opportunities to keep going in, but Apple Jackal does get a couple there, and that could actually be the momentum they need to shimmy their way past the statue and get towards the point. And indeed, they are going to take advantage of that, capitalize. Also get to pick on a Manimal.
Oh.
JCB and Apple, those are the picks they need. See, once those big burst damage picks come in, they hit hard. So that's, you know, that's a big, like, huge dichotomy on this kind of strat. Is either you're doing nothing or you're doing a lot with this strat. Everything's missing or everything's hitting, and eventually things just fell into place there for Barbaric Dusk, and they were able to clinch those couple picks that allowed them to snowball the rest of that point, and even getting a quick call into Chemicals. That could be a nice snowball into the rest of this point, and going towards checkpoint B, as they're now pushing up pretty far, but unfortunately being thrown down, and they're going to have to fall back with their, you're looking at their wounds a little bit there. Barbaric Dusk going to, you know,
Valkyrie coming out though.
Yeah, Valkyrie, alright, so I guess...
Oh.
Yeah.
Malicious 6 is just not saving any time. They want to go in. They love to play dive, and why not just use your Valkyrie to enable your tanks and DPS, go all the way into their spawn, and now Barbaric Dusk is literally forced into their spawn, and it seems like Malicious 6 has taken over control on where to fight, at least for a moment, and that gives some room to breathe the defense, because now they could build out some more ultimates. They have both tank ultimates, the Transcendence is coming up, and Chemicals also has a split coming up, and Traffic Cone doesn't have the defensive hold up to handle that, so that could be a really big thing to happen now.
Ooh, Apple Jackal gets rid of Chemicals before the fight breaks out. Primo Age trying to just dislodge the rest of this fight here, but unfortunately just kind of throwing his hands without nothing doing there. A Diva Bomb being popped, but should be able to get back into that mech, and indeed Otho is going to. But the rest of this Barbaric Dusk offense is just being shuttered around the spawn, and this is, I would say, definitely some selfless strats coming out here. I still remember the days when teams wouldn't do this and push up hard, and then selfless was just like, we're just gonna hold teams that spawn on King's Row. Like, why not? Like, let's just do it and make their lives super hard, and it's become meta ever since. And Malicious 6 has been doing more or less a pretty solid job, eating away a bunch of time on the side of Barbaric Dusk, and anytime it seemed like they have an opportunity to go in, they're shut down. JCB putting down first. Then comes a Diva Bomb from up top, doesn't connect on anybody. Malicious 6 is just going off here, looking for kills left and right, but JCB picking out Kelp, were able to keep the rest of his team alive here, creating space. And JCB, when things look all for naught, does make the kill feed a little bit more bluer. And then Otho throwing down some missiles. A late Transcendence coming out from Scorch, but can't keep the rest of his team alive for long enough, as Muller landing a big pulse bomb has been somewhat quiet throughout this set, but nonetheless doing his job when the job needs to get done. Otho again, another mini missile barrage, finding its target and getting its kill. Gonna pick up the tags on that one. Kelp does go down, but the payload is still in control of the side of Malicious 6.
Yeah, maybe Kelp overstayed as well, coming a bit there, got a bit too cocky. There comes the sticky out, but the mech is still alive. Really big there for Apodix that he didn't lose his mech. And look at Malicious 6, smartly disengaging, noting that they cannot engage without their main tank, giving the space to the enemy team, but bam, Kelp is here. They don't waste any second, jump in, force the Transcendence immediately, and note that Chemical still has the blade up. I expect that coming in soon. There he goes, unshields his blade, gets one kill together with Kelp. Kelp even uses Primal Rage in that tiny cafe there, and Traffic Cone, I think he didn't like to be in there with Kelp and Chemicals.
No, absolutely not. Definitely got burned by some of that coffee in the bookstore too. And that Transcendence, unfortunately, just not timed well enough with the blade coming out from Chemicals. Chemicals just waiting a little bit longer after that Transcendence, even though Traffic Cone really didn't have much of a choice, unfortunately, but Chemicals was able to wait him out just long enough to get more damage from the blade on the way out of that Transcendence, and again helping Malicious 6 hold on to this payload. And just a lot of trouble being had here by Barbaric Dusk. They're nowhere near the payload and still duking it out in a fight that they probably don't even need to be taking at this point. They're losing numbers and they're losing fast. Kelp, I believe, picking up 4 in that fight right there. And just, I mean, stomping down the entirety of Barbaric Dusk, who really don't have an answer for this Malicious 6 defense quite yet.
Yeah, and it feels like he has upgraded his sapping gun there, maybe, in comparison to Garms, because man, the guy cleaves all the damage through and gets so many kills. And look at them, they're repositioning now because there's a ripped Tower Cone. Now you can expect them to just go in again, and we see Calp just immediately jumping the window there, but this time around, there's just someone too many, and he backs off wisely. 1 minute on the clock though. Time's ticking.
Time is ticking, and Muller putting even more pressure on the side of Barbaric Dust as they lose Jackal early. A Diva Bomb being thrown inside these bubbles, gonna connect onto Rem, but there's really no one there left. There are only 1 or 2 reses, may not have been enough, even if Rem still stayed alive. And so many ultimates being dropped from the payload from above on the side of Malicious 6. Barbaric Dust really just scratching their heads now. They do have a couple ultimates here, and Garms is one of them, as well as JCB, a big pulse bomb. Could be exactly what this team needs from the side of JCB. Oh, but it does not land. A whiffed bomb there. Not going to stick completely. And that's a big loss going into this next fight. They don't really have any playmaker ults left here. They have a Diva Bomb possibly, but Otho is really in no position to drop down a big one. This fight is just coalesced onto this top upper area, and there's really no true forceful fight to be had, or proper fight to be had here, sorry. And Transcendence being thrown down here on the side of Traffic Cone as they force their way up onto the payload, and JCB getting rid of those Diva mech there. A Diva Bomb being thrown, but it's in the corner. Not going to connect on anybody now. Transcendence coming down here from Scorch, trying to keep the rest of Militia 6 alive. A Pulse Bomb being thrown down, being jumped. Oh, a huge Pulse Bomb from JCB. I believe that even landed on the Monkey Kelp, and he was able to transition the Pulse Bomb to his backline as he tried to escape. And in fact, it lands it. Either way, the Pulse Bomb somehow made its way into the backline. Big picks, and then essentially snowballed the fight from there. And that's a big pickup from Barbaric Dusk.
Yeah, and suddenly maybe the tides have turned as now. Barbaric Dusk is the team leading in ult economy. They have a big blade coming up. Let's hope the Garms doesn't bump the team away from his Genji, but Muller could come up huge again. He has sticky so many people score. Let's see if he can do a sticky. Engagement coming in, Dragon Blade onto dashes in but doesn't connect so far. No kills coming in. Instead, Chemicals takes down the Ram on the Mercy. Kills coming in from the side of Malicious 6, excuse me. 3 kills are now the Blade coming in from Chemicals. Takes out the last 2 members of Barbaric Dust, make it 3, and they hold on to the payload right in front of the second checkpoint and take home King's Row.
Malicious 6. That's finally the largest gap we've seen in this set, and really taking King's Row, I would say convincing here, but convincingly. Muller getting a nice podge on the board. Filling in pretty well here for Fair. Nice job. Sneaking away with a podge, even though he only gets 1 of those kills though, but his Pulse Bomb certainly helped facilitate the situation. And I would say that at this point, Malicious 6 was really firing on all cylinders there. Not really, I would say, standout player on the roster because everyone was playing so well from Muller to Kelp. Chemicals, everyone in between too. Posting big ultimate numbers, posting a bunch of kills here. So great job by Malicious 6, playing very, very strong as we continue throughout these maps. Barbaric Dusk, I think slowly but surely here, they're losing some of their footing as the offense becomes more aggro, a little more crazy here on the side of Malicious 6 throughout these maps.
Yeah, a little more crazy. That's not a little more crazy. I mean, I don't know if you caught it, but Calf in the end, before that last fight happened, he went in all the way alone, up those stairs, popped his Primal Rage, was bouncing around people, juggled them around, then jumped all the way to the spawn of the defending team and died there. But his team was actually having trust in him, and they immediately used Valkyrie, the Mercy, all the way to the spawn of the opposing team, resurrected Calf, and he came back to fight on the payload. Sadly, the pulse bomb incident happened and gave Barbaric Dust the opportunity to push further, but with another fight with Calv and his team back, they managed to hold it on that second checkpoint. And man, he's playing so aggressively, but he has to credit his team as well, because the support he's getting from his off tank, but also like the synergy they have on the DPS is just incredible. And I mean, they're only playing together for what, 2 weeks, I think, Malicious 6, right?
Yeah.
Or a month. That's pretty insane if you already have such a good synergy. Maybe it's just one of those miracle plays where, you know, it flips and they're good at the synergy. So I could believe they could go huge with that team if they keep on practicing and keep on refining their playstyle and perfectionizing it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit misleading as they posted 2 weeks and they've played 4 weeks of Open Division. So I would like to know what their true like team duration is, since it's clearly at least a month, but maybe it's they've changed up the roster throughout these weeks. And I would have loved to have seen how they went through all these different games, if they, all these different weeks, if they stuck with this roster, if they've been playing different players. But we see Fair and Mullet being swapped in and here and there, so maybe they were part of this 4-week winning streak that has certainly put Militia 6 to the top of the current Open Division NA. At least, if not at the top, then definitely around it. At 4-0 mark, you really can't do better than that. Like I said earlier, they only have dropped one map in the entirety of the 4 weeks of Open Division so far. They're currently 12-1 in maps. They've taken out Last Minute to Sarah, 3.6k. New team who it is, and these are teams towards the end there who have lost to teams like Sleeper Picks and beat Initio Gaming. So these are not entirely easy wins. They're not just scooping up easy wins against weaker teams. Some of these teams are definitely ones that pose somewhat of a threat in Open Division, at least to some extent. And at least 3.6k was able to take one map off Militia 6, but Barbaric Dusk is not able to do so, even though we don't necessarily know how they would do in Open Division. I believe Pimp mentioned earlier that they had some registration issues with the Open Division, so unfortunately we don't know how they could possibly be doing this new Barbaric roster. Barbaric Esports apparently been together since about a month ago, so just before, I guess, the holidays. I'm now that I think about that, I wonder how much the holidays, if anything, have affected the team, since maybe both of these teams, really, if they're so close in being formed, if they were able to get a lot of time in over the holidays, if they're able to get more time in because they have more time off, which would be great. I know I don't have that luxury. I still gotta go. I still gotta go to work, but some of these guys, then have to go to school or something, so they're chilling, playing Overwatch every day, all day. I wonder if how that kind of factored into these teams forming.
Those glorious days are even over for me. I also had to work on the holidays and holiday time here. If you work in a casino, it's even the worst time because everyone gets their money and they're like, what better can I do than go gamble in a casino? And I'm like, yeah, that's how I like to spend holidays. But I'm pretty sure some of them spent their holidays practicing more and more because they played on point, mechanically at certain points. There wasn't not a lot of failure. There was a misplay here and there, but overall, especially the Tracer and the Widowmaker play was just outstanding from either side, though. JCB and the Widow, Fair, as you mentioned before, they both just got a moment where they pretty much killed the entire team on their own, and on that level, that can just happen when, in theory, you think, yeah, the better the teams get, the less likely such things are going to happen. But seen it also in OWL, Pine on a McCree, for example, a hero that seems a little bit weaker at the moment because he's so easy diveable. He's just rewriting whether a hero is easy diveable or not. On the McCree, he was doing some insane stuff, and it's really lovely to see what players can do and how creative they can get, especially when it comes to maps that are not that often played, or to Junkertown, who everyone hates.
That's Junkertown's it's the new horizon. I feel like every map that gets introduced, it's like, please don't make us play this map, until eventually everyone is dragged kicking and screaming, forced to use that map, whatever it is. Looks like we might be going to Nepal Control, by the way, as we discussed that. But yeah, this it's interesting because we have maps like Horizon and Junkertown added to the map pool at the same time, where this meta, where it's still very dive flavored. It's given a little bit of leeway with the help of these new maps, which add to some niche, if not cheesy, but still niche and valid strats involving Orisa, involving Roadhog, involving Bastion. And some of this is facilitated by the maps. It's also facilitated by the Mercy meta, and this, the constant keeping players in. Teams can kind of throw down a character knowing they might get res. They might be more willing to invest in something that might be otherwise more risky because they know they could res it back up or double res it back up. But still, it can be scary in this meta where so much of the damage is coming in the form of bursts, not only from dive but from characters like McCree. You have to be careful with what you're picking, because you might not have very much time to defend it. You might have to babysit a little bit more, and if you lose it the very quick burst damage and dive offense that you're facing is going to take advantage and snowball you through a big portion without the rest of the map. So that's something to think about in this current meta of Overwatch.
Yeah, talking about dive though, it always depends on the map, and especially like if we touch on global maps now, there pretty much always is one map where you can't run dive too well. For example, on Lee Chung Tower that we saw before, you barely ever see a team run dive compositions on the control center. And here in Nepal, we have the same thing where inside in the Sanctum, you barely ever see a dive composition. So we might see an Orisa, as you touched on it before there, coupled in with a Junkrat and a Roadhog, maybe some environmental kills like we've seen yesterday. I think there were like 6 Roadhog hooks down in the pit of death. So I'd be looking forward to see that come in, because I think so far we have not seen a single Roadhog or Orisa in that series.
Yeah, we saw a tiny bit of Orisa on the point A of Anubis for both of these teams.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Otherwise, yeah, it's pretty much been no Orisa and no Roadhog. Yeah, I'm hoping to see some of my man Hog, because Hog has been slowly working his way to more relevancy after the nerfs. He's given himself, just a little bit more room to work with, just to extend that belly a little bit. But yeah, like in this set, we haven't really seen too much of the Hog, if not nothing at all, and very, very little Orisa. Teams sticking with either the dive, or they're going for the Reinhardt Zarya. But we did, by the way, see, mentioning other characters, we saw a little bit of not only Sombra on Anubis, but that's pretty standard, but also the Reaper. I like the hot, quick, on the fly pick over to Reaper from Malicious 6 that they ran, I believe. Throwing down the Reaper on offense of 2 CP on Anubis to get some really quick kills. And, of course, with I guess the double-edged sword of being on defense on 2 CP is that, sure, you can get your reinforcements back in and you can make a really long fight go in your favor, but at the same time, you can get chased down very easily. There's only so many ways you could run away, and Reaper's a great character to get and confirm kills in small spaces. So when you have that really quick fix over to Reaper, that's a great play. But now we're on to our second control map of the night, as our 5th map as well. Going to Nepal between these two teams. In the blue, Steel Barbaric Dusk. And up with a bunch of maps under their belt here is Malicious 6 in the red.
Yeah, and we're not only going to Nepal, but we're also going to Sanctum, as we just talked about before. And teams are, at least one team is already hovering over picks that seem to be serious picks, whilst Malicious 6 is still fooling around with us here with Torbjorn, Hanzo, Widowmaker. But it seems like we're gonna definitely see the Roadhog and Orisa coupled here with the Junkrat, and it looks like Malicious 6 is probably also going so that route. And yeah, finally they're adapting. The only difference here could be the Tracer, but March decides to stick with the Soldier as well.
Yeah, this is a fight. There's our boy Roadhog from Otho, going for those environmental kills, and Heppo also jumping onto the Roadhog. They're looking for as many cheesy kills as possible into the pit. And they have Halt, they have the Hook, they have Junkrat Mines, they have a Lucio for Traffic Cone possible.
Oh,
Oops.
there he goes.
Oh, and there's the Junkrat Dislodge and the Halt, and a bunch more. Malicious 6 getting on the board in style, and then a hook that would have put Otho into the pit, but Mullet cleans him up anyway. And with no one to contest, Malicious 6 is going to get a very, very easy, quick capture here on point C, I guess is officially called now, but the Sanctum part of Nepal.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Malicious 6 is running them more now, and I think that's why they're holding up here, because they're gonna get a lot of healing here with the Mora. They have the orb, so they can easily hold around here. Just spam the choke with their own Junkrat. Since they have the Tire coming up already, this is gonna be a scary place to be at for Barbaric Dusk. Tire coming in here, chukes around a bit, goes outside route. Let's see, he can pick down someone, but Barbaric Dusk is all the way back, and in the end he still gets one though.
Yeah, that's just a nice Rip Tire to land, forcing out the res, giving yourself a little bit more room. You know that's going to be on cooldown, so you can play a little more weighty on the front line here. But realizing this, a nice slide play on the left here from converting on that into a triple kill from the Rip Tire, and it seemingly unexpected entirely by Malicious 6 as they get absolutely pulverized by that Rip Tire. Now Mullet trying to salvage with the visor, but he gets halted and thrown into the pit there. with the help of that Orisa, and then JCB confirming the kill with the right click. Ebelbit to pick up and Scorches Moira, another character we have seen very little, if not nothing of. And that's a big Riptire from 3 from downtown. Ebel Jackal getting a bunch on this Riptire, and that's just after a really nice swing play coming out from Barbaric Dusk on that side flank to get things going, and now they've gotten themselves a bunch of positioning into this next foray.
Yeah, now another Riptire is up this time around again for the side of Militia 6, as we hear it being thrown out. Chemicals is driving all the way down. Gets 2 in the meanwhile. Somehow he got the Junkrat there as well. Wildcard being called. Immediate resurrection onto Ram here. As the Warbongs are being placed on a point by Militia 6, and they're slowly but surely stepping their foot there. And they're just hiding behind the shield at 3. Hook is going on to the Orisa and nearly hooked her down. And now only the Lucio is there in a last ditch effort to squeeze out some last percentage. And they're gonna cap it again. And 42% for one team, and Militia 6 is on 66% here.
Yeah, not bad. Both of these teams trading back and forth. There's Militia 6 now with a big advantage, not only with the point, but also kills. And they're going to be looking at possibly tying up the ultimates here, as both Moira and Muller, Scorch and Moira and 76, Muller, Scorch and Mullet respectively, getting very close to their ultimates. So this coalescence is going to be very hard for the blue side to be breaking in here, as this fight is going to need to be forced. Militia 6 is now 10% away from getting this. Might see another side push, but instead they're going to run right in, and Carms, who got a little bit ahead of himself there, gets put down by Chemicals. A barrier being thrown down, but Scorch is waiting with the coalescence on Moira. A res coming out, and yeah, there's no way. There's so much buffeting coming out from this coalescence. It doesn't matter that Ebel Jackal. It's another 3K with another Riptire. That coalescence was too much to get through, as well as the wall of Junkrat waiting for him in that choke point.
And but after it felt like a good start until people got dragged down in the pit of death, and from that point on, like, unless Ebel Jackal would make another 3K Riptire, it felt like they had no land to go on. And the aggressive hold was also really interesting there from Barbaric Dusk, and I think it was mainly due to them having the Mara, the huge healing, the healing orb that they could hold there, because normally teams would hold the high ground. So really smart, small adaptation from them. Now we're onto Shrine here, and we already see the Pharaoh Mercy coming out from one side, whilst Ebel Jackal is sticking around with that Junkrat for another 3K Riptire maybe.
Yeah, the team needs a lot of that as we go into what could possibly be the last round of Nepal. And Otho, though, gets first blood to Manimal, but it's Chemicals with the 3K, looking like a Riptire out here. A 4K right there. That was almost too easy, as that discorded Winston just fell right into his lap. And he's going to try and get the D, but he's going to get the 5K. No, it's stolen by Muller and Militia 6. A very simple take here, as Campbell Schools just flanks on the left side, gets a bunch of picks as he already finds some whittle targets and makes the conversion.
Yeah, Ebel Jackal says, change of plans, I'm not gonna use Riptires, I'm just gonna use rockets from above to maybe tie up with Chemicals, as Muller opens things up here, gets the pulse bomb onto Traffic Cone, and that surely is gonna slow down the attack here of Barbaric Dusk again. And their approach with the Sphera is really risky there, going out in the high ground, whilst Chemicals is on 70% ult charge already, and they're squeezing out, and Rem is falling so low, and Muller can find another pick again. Make it to... The guy's just untouched right now. He's just blinking around, killing people. But Ebel Jackal, he's hungry for blood as well. He got his 3K as well. Let's see if he can get the 5K like his opposing Pharaoh before. Is this 4K here? Let's see if he can get the 5th, as the Raging Monkey is just jumping around into the air for him and wants to contest him. But I think that's gonna be it for him. Gets taken down eventually.
Nice win there by Barbaric Dusk. Yeah, Kelth was actually situated up on that high ground, waiting for the backline to run by him, but he wasn't able to get the Mercy kill, and unfortunately wasn't able to convert on enough kills to make it worthwhile, and then had to pop the Primal Rage as a result in the end, but he was overwhelmed and ended up being a waste, unfortunately. So now his opponents, Chemicals getting rid of Traffic Cone. That's a cue for the rest of Militia 6 to kind of force their way out to the point. Even though a res did come out, Chemicals gets popped by the bubble, even though a barrage did convert onto Carms. But Rem picks him and scoops him right back up from the dead. Otho with a big bop onto Manimal with that Diva Bomb. Now they're finding themselves off the point with fewer numbers on the side of Barbaric Dusk. getting away from that Diva Bomb. Garms doesn't pick up a kill onto Scorch, but the rest of his team is essentially dead at this point. Even though Traffic Cone gets back into it with the barrier, just as Ebby Jackal getting in another 3K with these barrages. When will these Pharahs stop? I don't think it's anytime soon. And then the 4K with those left clicks onto the side. Nice play there by Beric Dusk. And again, it's just holding on by just a little bit, allowing Traffic Cone to get in with the barrier, and then Ebel cleans things up.
However, they have used up all the resources they had to work with, and this could be an opening here for Mullert again, as he has yet another pulse bomb rally, and he's been deadly so far with the accuracy and also. Let's see if he can make something here as he's coming over onto the high ground, and 2 blinks, and suddenly there's a Mercy Death, but it was Hapodix taking her out. His team is following up immediately, uses the window, and man, that was fast. 4 kills, and it's just going to be a matter of time before they can capture that point.
And Militia 6 doing it with a good amount of time left too, only leaving 15% left on the clock for Barbaric Dusk. And neither team with a very heavy ultimate advantage, just 1-1 apiece. Though Hepodux is going to be very close to another Diva Bomb. If anything, it'll just keep the Diva longer in the fight, even if he doesn't get any bomb kills or even any quote-unquote zoning done. So it's still a really good lifeline to have on the side of Militia 6. Meanwhile, Altho not really close to his. It's only JCB with the Pulse Bomb. He needs to hit a big 3K Pulse Bomb. That's what we need. We've seen Riptire, we've seen Barrages. We need the Pulse Bomb now. And Altho getting rid of Scorch. Rem putting down 2. No Res coming out on the side of Barbaric Dust at the big loss already. And then they're losing their Lucio too. There are no supports left. This is essentially a done deal before the deal is even made. Applejack, though, finding Muller isn't going to be enough as Hepodux says no, puts him down. And in a very anticlimactic fight here, Militia 6 should be able to clean things up here. And certainly they do mop it up. The floor should now be clean of Barbaric Dusk, though they are going to try and dirty things up for these last moments on the point. If they do get a win here, they only have 50% to put left on the board, but there are just too many Militia 6 members still remaining on the point. Overtime is going to take away. That should be it here. And Militia 6 should be able to take this next and final possibly map here. Another big win for Militia 6, a 2-0 here on Nepal.
And that last round was a little bit more convincing. Like after King's Row, it just went downhill for Barbaric Dusk because Militia 6, they just went on with the flow, with the momentum. I believe this is the first fight we're seeing here. 1 kill with that. Oh man, Comcast Blast was Calv, pulled down the other Junkrat, and I think this is gonna close it up soon. That's 5th map, Militia 6. They're going on with the record from Open Division, being unbeaten here.
Yeah, Militia 6 posting a very, very solid performance here in the scrim, but Barbaric Dusk, I think, also posting a very solid performance, and of course, being scrims, I think you win as long as you learn something from these games, so I'm sure that both teams will be walking away with that, but I'm happy to see both of these teams posting solid players on both sides and swapping out players in the form of Mullert and Applejackal getting in a little bit of time on both sides and making a couple good plays. And I honestly, I just love the DPS battles we saw between these teams. Farah versus JCB, Applejackal against Mullert. Really solid back and forth. The Widow 1v1s, the Farahs going at it with barrages. Who could get the fatter barrage? Who could get the fatter Riptire? Who can get the most headshots? This was really just a showcase of DPS skill in this set. I was really happy to see it.
I just realized I was on mute, but I really liked this series because there was so much back and forth, with the widows in the first 3 maps, and it was pretty even, even though there was a 3-0 loss on Watchpoint, it didn't feel like that for most of it, like there was back and forth. JCB, I would say, is the better widow here, but I think the team worked better with Fair playing the widow. They were just able to take advantage of those picks or take advantage of the distraction that was being caused by the widow.
Right.
So it was a really great series overall, and I think, when those subs came in, Farrah came out, we had Muller T come in, and then we had Augustus come out, and then we had Ebel Jackal come in, and like just those players are coming in, and at least Jackal, was coming in and playing that Junkrat. We didn't see Junkrat on as much on the first first three maps, but Kings Row favors him a bit more, and of course Nepal is especially there on Sanctum with the Orisa. So it was a really great series overall. I look forward to seeing Militia 6, keep going on. They're only 2 weeks into Open Division. All 4 rounds, they won. Only losing a map, as we've been saying. So they didn't lose the map here, and I think they're going to keep that roll. Hopefully, this week going through some scrims. It's only Tuesday, so they got a lot of time left until they play this week. I didn't get to see who they actually play this coming up weekend, but I'll be rooting for them. So
Yeah,
any last thoughts you got there, Sharper, about this series?
I don't know, it was outstanding, as you mentioned. The DPS play was just incredible, but it's always the other players to credit as well, as you mentioned. Yeah, and the team played better around it, and tank play, especially for Militia 6, is what stood out for me as well. With Calf on the Monkey, he was insane. He was a pure madman. He was going to the spawn alone if he needed to, and I'd really love to see more play of him and see how his team is adapting over time to the playstyle, because they surely have adapted to his playstyle. Otherwise, they wouldn't go and resurrect him at the enemy spawn.
Yeah, especially
Overall, great series. Yeah.
Yeah, especially like overall gameplay. You mentioned the tank, being what helped Militia 6 win. Is that, at this higher level tier, everyone's got the mechanical skill, at least for the most part, But it's really that, strategy, playing a tank, you got to be able to peel for your supports as well as, make the call on who to jump on. And it seemed that Kelth had that written down. But let's bring it over to the other side, Barbaric Dusk, and you had Traffic Cone on the support. Excellent job as Zenyatta. I've seen Traffic Cone through probably for almost a whole year. I've watched him through a few different events, and he's been a great player. I'm pretty sure he played some Lucio at this time, but also I remember him playing Lucio before, but making that switch to Zenyatta, since Zenyatta is like so meta right now. He's doing an excellent job getting quite a bit of headshots there, and had a few good transcendences that helped his team. There was one in particular that helped Barbaric Dusk get the second round on Numbani, or not Numbani. We didn't play Numbani on Lijiang Tower. After there was like that double Earth Shatter, and it was good to save his team there. And I've seen him a lot, and look forward. Hopefully he has a good adventure on Barbaric Dusk. They're not a bad team. They were keeping up with Militia 6 for the most part until we had those subs there at the end, but. Great series overall. And Rapture, do you have any last comments you want to make here?
Well, I would just definitely want to say I would love to see more of both of these teams. Hope to see them in more Scrim Nights and Open Division as well. Just definitely Militia 6. These guys are really great to see them play, and I would love to see how they do in a true competitive environment outside of scrims. And then Barbaric Dusk, they have a great opportunity to build on what they have. Vocal mentioning to me that they had a couple. I believe Muller was jumping. Oh no, there's some Militia 6. Muller jumped on because he was an older player on the roster. But yeah, Barbaric Dusk. They have a lot of room to improve here, which is great. I think that's always a good thing for a team. You have room to improve. That's always awesome. Trying to get better, and both of these teams certainly are. But it was nice to see Barbaric's name again, especially an organization that I've seen before. And now with this new roster, I'm interested to see how far they go. So this is, I think, a great set from both of these teams, and made me optimistic for both of them.
Yeah, let's see Barbaric Dusk in the future Open Division, since they were late to register. But this is a great series, and thank you, Rapture. Thank you, Sharper, for joining me. I'm Pim of the Crib, and this is Broadcast.gg Scrim Nights. So be sure to come to our Discord. If you're a competitor and you want to get your games casted, or if you're a new caster or producer that want to get involved in commentary and production, you can hop over to our Discord, and also go to our website, broadcast.gg, and be sure to follow us here and on Twitter. Once again, I'm Pimp of the Crib, and have a great night.
So they got everybody there. Garms going in, swinging hard, and Earth Shatter to boot. And they throw the kitchen sink and then some, and that should be absolutely enough for Barbaric Dusk to get essentially an entire team kill there. And just in time, big Riptire into Garms. Now a Graviton again, locking Militia 6 in place. A repeat of what we just saw earlier. And JSB helped cleaning things up. Another really great Graviton from Otho, keeping Barbaric Dusk in control of the point.
Maybe a bit of no plus that Earth Shatter, and Calv has shown before that he can do a big Earth Shatter, and here's again. Big Earth Shatter, 4-man down.
Garms got knocked into the air and the Earth Shatter slipped under his shield. A huge play by Malicious 6, but they're going right into this high charge of Otho is cleaning Barbaric Dusk, but still giving him a lot of trouble as they just try and get the first clinch here on this point. Still having a little bit of a hiccup in doing so, and Barbaric Dusk will finally get things here after Malicious 6 goes down.
Hey, yeah, finally you say it after what felt like an
So they got everybody there. Garms going in, swinging hard, and Earth Shatter to boot. And they throw the kitchen sink and then some, and that should be absolutely enough for Barbaric Dusk to get essentially an entire team kill there. And just in time, big Riptire into Garms. Now a Graviton again, locking Militia 6 in place. A repeat of what we just saw earlier. And JSB helped cleaning things up. Another really great Graviton from Otho, keeping Barbaric Dusk in control of the point.
Maybe a bit of no plus that Earth Shatter, and Calv has shown before that he can do a big Earth Shatter, and here's again. Big Earth Shatter, 4-man.